Hey everyone, I'm Kevin with JcrOffroad. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install our Bronco underhood air compressor mount. So to get started, we are going to have to do a little bit of disassembly. We're going to begin down here in the passenger side wheel opening. We've turned the wheel all the way to the left to give us as much room in here as possible. And we're going to remove the 8 rearmost clips holding this inner fender in place. So you've got kind of a line of them that run here, one straight in, and then there is one up top that you probably can't see on camera as well. You can kind of see mine are mostly all popped out because we did have this apart during the R&D process. But the way these come out, they're just a Phillips head with a real light pressure on them. You should be able to back them out. And then you can grab a hold of the center. If the center section pulls out, that's fine. You can then get behind here with a panel tool and pull the rest out, and then simply thread that back together. So once you have that fender liner peeled back, you can reach through the side here with a 10mm wrench, and then down on the firewall, you're going to be removing this one 10mm head nut. That kind of holds this fender support bracket, which will just be temporarily removed and then reinstalled later. So then once that nut's removed, you should be able to pull the bracket off of this stud. So there is going to be this one clip here in the center kind of holding that in place, and mostly what that is an anti-rotation clip for when you're tightening things up. So you may need a pry tool to kind of just help you pop that free, and then you can temporarily put this bracket off to the side. Then once you have that out of the way, this stud should slide toward the passenger side of the vehicle and can be removed. Once you have that out of the way, you'll need to install the nut plate that we provide back in behind where that stud was removed. So it's going to go in like this with the longer flat section out toward the outside of the vehicle and the nuts toward the rear. And it'll just slide right in here behind this little extension in the firewall. Then you're ready to feed the support bracket down here through the engine bay and back to that firewall. So the way this is going to go in will be with this longer slotted hole down. It'll kind of just feed right down behind these hoses and back to where we were just working. And then once you get it down there, you're going to need to reinstall that inner fender support both here into the slot, and then install one of the provided 1/4 button head bolts here through this hole, and then out on this side into those 2 nuts in our nut tab. So the easiest way to get this started once you've fed the bracket down in is to start with the innermost button head bolt and get that going into this nut plate. So then once you have that innermost bolt started, you can get this fender support bracket lined back up, get the clip started into the hole in our nut plate, and then you can install your 1/4 button head here on the outside. So then what you're left with is what you see here, where you have our nut plate here on the back side, followed by our compressor support bracket, then the inner fender support secured with those 1/4" button head bolts. So now we're back up under the hood. You can grab this 5/16 clip nut from your hardware pack, and it's going to install through this square here and over the round hole right here, kind of just behind your air box. That should be easy enough to just slide right up in place. And then you'll need an 8mm socket to remove the 3 screws here that are all kind of in line vertically, holding this computer mount in place. Ours has one button head from a previous incident during our R&D process, but yours will all 3 be the same. So when you pull this off, you're gonna have this tab that would have slotted into the square hole over here. You'll kind of need to lift this up to pull it out. And then you're gonna need to do as we've already done on this one and just tap that with a hammer or a large pair of pliers maybe to just make it flat on this back face. Once you've got that done, you can grab the actual compressor mount. All these bent flanges are gonna point up as you see it here. And kind of just the reason you had to bend that tab is so that it can sit flat against this mounting face here. So you're just going to take this and you'll need to feed that computer mount up through the cutout in our bracket. And you can begin locating that back in place. It's going to reinstall back here using those same factory bolts. Once you have the bracket support bolts in place, go ahead and reconnect this ground as well. And then before you tighten those up, you'll want to grab a 5/16 button head and insert it through the slot here and into that clip nut that you just installed earlier. Then you can connect the compressor mount to that larger support leg that you installed earlier, making sure that that support bracket winds up on this side of the downward flange, and then you'll use 2 more 5/16 button heads and serrated flange nuts in this location. So all that's really left to do now is to run through and tighten up all your hardware. For all those 5/16 bolts, you're going to need a 3/16 hex. And for the smaller 1/4 inch ones, down in that wheel opening area, you're going to need a 5/32 hex. So then you can go back down and reinstall those clips in your inner fender before coming back up top and installing your air compressor. So the way the hole layout is configured to mount the compressor is the wider 4 holes here at the center are to mount a single, and you'll use the 6 slightly narrower slots to mount a dual. So then it's just up to you to get your compressor installed to finish off your install. If you guys have any questions about this installation or any other product we offer here at JCR Off-Road, feel free to reach out to us. You can give us a call at 269-353-1184 or send us an email at info@jcroffroad.com.